Not your average tabletop. Woohoo!
Welcome to Not Your Average Tabletop. I'm Zach.
And I'm Mac.
And today we're going to give our first impressions of Wayfarers of the South Tigris.
The newest edition from Shem Phillips and Garphill Games.
Yes. So this is one of probably my most anticipated games of 2022, I would say.
I'll say.
I've really been a fan of almost every one of their games that I've played, so I figured this would be no different. And honestly, I think the cover had me even more excited just because it's obviously a new trilogy set in the South Tigris, but just the colors that they used, I think, just work really well. It might be my favorite cover that they have, and they've got some pretty solid covers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy that was, I think they said, a little more dice-based is what it was supposed to be. But yeah, we played it one time now. We played it last night. And
So what does that mean? That, like, the West Kingdom is what? Worker placement based? And then the North Sea is
I don't know if they were just... I think this was just...
grouped them by...
Yeah, I don't know if they were just more worker placement. And I think the West Kingdom was more based on that... corruption type thing, corruption, non-corrupt, because that was kind of used in a couple of them, I think. So I think there was more of that in the West Kingdom. But yeah, none of them had ever really used a bunch of dice. Okay. I think their game that used the most dice that we have is, well, there's Raiders, used it very little, but Circadian's First Light, I think, is kind of one that they use. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, I really like that game, so it got me excited for what dice games could be. But yeah, we got into our first play of this one.
Did.
And I would say calling it a dice game is pretty loose.
Yeah.
Because you are using dice, and in a way you're sort of manipulating how they work, but I wouldn't... If you're getting really excited about the dice part, I wouldn't say that
it's a minor component.
Yeah. It's in this one anyway. I don't know what the other two are going to be like. They might use them even more. I don't know. But in this one, I would say it was pretty minor. But what they were used for, I think, was very unique. Felt a little bit different, which is something about these Garphill games that I think always kind of comes up. They always do something a little bit different. And this one felt like Tableau Builder the game. You're just building out this whole, I don't know, just this, you got your land, your sea, your space. You just got these cards all over the board that you're trying to get throughout the game. And you're just building this really beautiful looking, almost
set collection
panorama.
And tiles and all player workers and all the things.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this game. So I can definitely see why people say it's kind of the level of Paladins of the West Kingdom, which is probably their heaviest one of these trilogy games that they've had.
Yeah.
But I would almost say some of it almost made me feel like Hadrian's Wall, where, like in Hadrian's Wall, I can't really tell what the best thing to do is.
Oh.
And where this one, I'm like, I don't actually know what's going to get me the most points.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'll probably, with more plays, be a little more obvious to me than Hadrian's Wall, because I've played that one probably close to 10 times now, and I still feel like I don't know what the best thing to do is, whereas this one maybe I'm thinking will become a little clearer, a little quicker. But it kind of made me think of that a little bit in that way, where it's kind of like, not really sure if getting a lot of these land ones going to be good, is getting a lot of... And then I realized at the end, I didn't really even know what was going to score for a lot of points.
Yes.
Because, with my last turn, I was like, well, I guess this is 3 points. But then I had totally even forgotten about the scoring of, like, your set collection of getting the different landscape types. And I'm like, oh, well, getting one of those is actually more points than what I was doing. So I took my move back on that one. But still ended up losing by 1, so it didn't matter. But, I really enjoyed the play of it. There's definitely a lot going on, but I really liked everything that was going on.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I was a little nervous because I had heard, I'd watched a couple of videos about it, and other people, like, I watched some real video, and they kind of hinted, it's maybe Paladin's level difficulty, so maybe for more experienced gamers. And I agree with that. I think it is probably better if you're it's probably easier to grasp if you're either familiar with Garphill games or a more experienced board game player. But that being said, I felt like this game was much easier for me to grasp than Paladins was. And I still don't fully understand Paladins, and I feel like I understand this game, like, pretty well after one play of it. And I think that just comes down to, like, the iconology and just everything working so well together. Like, there's so many options, but the way that you can make the options work, or the variabilities of getting those options together, I think worked out really well. And I think it helped that in one of the videos I watched, I think it was like board games in like under 3 minutes, had recommended, like, you need to look at the end game path and where you want to be by the end and plan accordingly, because if you do not do this, you will have problems. And so I didn't really know exactly what that really meant. I looked at it, but I didn't, like, really, you know, you can't really play to it until you know what's going on. And so I got, I think, like 4 or 5 down the track, and I was like, oh yeah, I see what they mean. Like, yeah, you need to be planning your route through this. And so I think that was the best advice, or whatever, the best advice they could have given any new player to it, because it's really important that you're doing those pieces. And then on top of that, because I got to one spot where I was like, oh, I did not plan for this, and so I was scrambling, trying to find a way to get this so I can move on to the next level. And I think that hurt me, because then you pulled ahead on that track and you were able to get a turn, and then you were able to, then I only got one turn, and then you got another turn, and that was it. That was the game. So probably smart of you to end it, though, considering I won by 1 point.
Yeah, I don't know that I had, maybe looking back to what the kind of that scoring that I just totally forgot about.
It too.
I was just
Straight
I felt
up.
like that play was just kind of figuring out how to get things, how to get all the mechanics to kind of work and stuff, so I wasn't even really thinking about the scoring at the end.
Yeah.
And
I
looking
wasn't
back,
either.
maybe it would have been better for me to extend it to try to get that set collection more points, but yeah, I would agree that there are things in it that are, I think, more approachable than the Paladins. Like, I think this one, after a couple plays, I think you can see a lot more of the stuff than maybe in Paladins, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I've only played Paladins like 2 or 3 times, but I still struggle with some of the cards, because, or the actions, because it's like, it's this if you want to do this, or because some of the actions have multiple, or whatever, the placements have multiple actions you can take. And so I just struggle with, like, your ability to do that or that. But the card play in this is very similar, where you can either play the card, or you place one on the card to get the action, but then you have to do a different thing to actually get the card. And so there's kind of duality in some of that, but it just was more approachable in my brain, I think, in this circumstance.
Yeah, I think in Paladins it's a lot easier to miss requirements that you need to take some of the actions and some of the costs. I think those two things are a little easier to forget about in Paladins, whereas in this one I think a lot of costs and stuff are pretty straightforward. Yeah. So then you're never like, oh shoot, for that one I needed 3 provisions. Whereas then, just the way the Paladins board is set up and stuff, it is very easy to forget sometimes that, oh yeah, that costs 3 provisions, I don't have provisions. Well, that messes up my whole plan.
Yep.
Whereas in this one, I don't think there was anything that really had that happen.
No.
But yeah, I think there's still a lot more to explore after just one play, because there was a meeple element to this as well, to take some actions on the board.
Which I thought,
and I feel like we didn't really explore that as much as we should.
I thought the meeple action was going to be way more, but I think max we had 5 meeples out.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, I guess we're not really using a lot of meeples.
Right, and I think we maybe could have.
And there's not that many in the box, so.
Right. I think it's just, not knowing where we should use them and stuff. But yeah, so I would say after one play, I'm putting this one at about a 9, probably rising, because it was really good. There's a lot of really good stuff in here, and I think it's going to have a lot of replayability as well, which is really good.
That's interesting, because I was going to put it at 8.5 or 9, but I do worry about the replayability, where I feel like some games can be hacked, right? Like, I feel like Viscounts, Architects, like, I feel like those games are hackable games, like, or we've just played them so much now that I'm comfortable enough to play all these different things, especially in Viscounts. But, like, I feel like this one, the boards flip and the stuff, but there's some things that always stay the same, like the tiles and the upgrade tiles and stuff. And so I'm like, I really do wonder if it's like how hackable it is. So we'll have to see after some more plays if you start dominating.
Wow. So that makes it hackable.
Well, I dominate Viscounts.
Wow. Okay.
You gotta just.
Well, we've
one.
heard enough of that.
I did win the first playthrough. Couldn't even let you win your first playthrough.
That
We
is
gave
true.
you wanted for a whole year.
I'm fine with that. That gets you to get it back to the table more. So that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to check out an unboxing video of this to kind of see what's in the box, we'll be releasing that alongside this video, so check that one out. But otherwise, we hope to see you on the next one, and as always, don't forget to keep on nibbling on our content.